Hi, I'm Jim Papa. I'll be reading from a collection of poems written over the last, for the most part, 10 or 15 years. Gale. I listen to the gale blowing outside the window in the dark, glad I'm not at sea where somewhere a fisherman is praying for the wind to stop, praying the next wave won't sink the boat or wash him overboard. I can hear him now swearing at the boat every time she rolls too far or shudders her way through a bad wave. By now he's willing to trade every last fish in the hold to make land, every dollar he's ever made to be done with this business. But it's no use. God doesn't cut deals that far out. So he goes on swearing. He curses the men who built the boat and the waves that threatened to tear it apart. He curses his own foolishness. He could have worked in a factory or sold shoes. He curses God again, that bastard, and after that his wife, who after all is most to blame for this and everything else. But he doesn't curse the sea, luminous now as it towers over him in the dark, new as it ever was. The laughter of terns. There are those here who love summer, the easy winds out of the south, and the laughter of terns raising young along the beach. But I have always been drawn to winter, to sharp-billed mergansers fishing, the blue edges of the sea ice, and the hard silence of the dead. Swan River Lead. The frozen wastes of the bay stretch south and east beneath a dirty sky, but a dark tongue of still water marks the river's narrow mouth. A handful of ruddies paddle upstream through the lead, heads turned back, half tucked under their wings against the cold. They have come a long way, staked their lives on this remembered coast, and found themselves betrayed by the far reach of the ice. Tonight a hard skin will cover even this gleaming vein, and yet they swim calmly through the shadows of dusks, as if they had miles of open water ahead and hours until dark. Pilgrim. Walking the rock-strewn beach beneath the light, I discover the frail body of a tern, the torn flesh worn tissue thin by wind and sun, the forked tail closed forever. Without thinking, I kneel, reach in through splintered ribs, and finger the shrunken gizzard still full of small stones from half a world away, bright gleanings hidden inside a dark pouch. I weep, except for my shame. What have I ever carried so far? Catechism. All winter the herons kept vigil on the river, spreading his blue vestments over it in prayer. In the evenings he says Mass in the shallows, offers me the moon's thin ghost for a host, the current's slow drift for a blessing. And in the mornings from behind a curtain of reeds, he hears my confessions, the same bitter sins that sleep under your tongue. But when I ask for my penance, he stands silent and still on one leg, his long beak buried under his great wing. The meadows fetch. The men that built her are dead, the men that sailed her as boys, long since retired to condos along the Florida coast. Her mast and rigging are lost, the rock-hard oak of her ribs softened by rainwater and rot. Stripped of paint by weather, the years have loosened the planking and opened her seams. Sparrows and field mice have stolen the last threads of oakum for nests. Sunlight pools like water in her bilge, and bees have hollowed out the keel. But her hull still honors the marriage of curves that decided her form. In the blue haze of August she floats, high on a sea of tall grass, tossing on the meadow's fetch, tempting me to swim out and undo her mooring. This is a poem in sections. Each section is 9 lines, and each section in that 9-line poem is 3 lines. Notes from a voyage. The drowned sailor walks the bottom of the sea, filling his pockets with stones. There are knots no marlin spike can break, stars no sextant can fix. The torn lace of the wake drifts on the darkened waves, threads unraveled by the wind. I leave landfalls behind, but the horizon follows wherever I go. Bright sun or moonless night, fair weather or gale, no change of sail quickens the hull. No new stars rise to mark the passage. The deep keel plows the shallow bar, and the bones of man, swallowed by storms, lie turned out of the furrow. Far from land, the hurricane, spinning like a dancer, gathers the sea in her arms and offers it to the sky. You cannot drag the sea for bodies, you cannot trawl for lives gone down into the watery darkness. They have learned how to swim through the nets of your sorrow and prefer instead to come ashore alone at night, shoeless and guided by the stars. There are passages longer than any ship has sailed. The storms inside a man blow harder than any gale. Steam will bend the stiffest rib, but a man's paths never gives. You can sound the ocean floor, but no lead line can measure the deeper reaches of grief. When green seas bury the deck and a blizzard of spray drives you below, lash the tiller and heave to. A carpenter's eye and conscience hold your fate. Ride it out or go down. Prayer won't call off the dogs of the sea. Chippewa magic. The Chippewa speak of a potion brewed from the heart of a goose that has never fed on corn, a goose that has gone 1,000 miles over rivers, rocks, and snow, a goose with strong medicine under his wing. The Chippewa say to hunt this goose down over the dark winter waters and feed the tough muzzle of its heart to the one you would cross the prairies with, the one whose track you cannot abandon. But I am not a Chippewa, I am not a Sioux. The long ribbons of geese tie together the loose ends of the wind. Without them, the sky would come undone, the clouds run off like ponies in a storm. But this is not where the Chippewa magic lies. This is not the iron hoop that holds love in its place. The spell lies in the throat of the mate who continues on alone, in the broken singing that does not end, in the song that the Chippewa lovers must make their own. If I knew this song, I would sing it to you, but I am not a Chippewa, I am not a Sioux. The dead woman's things. They put the dead woman's things by the road. The broken cupboard, the thin rug covered with dog hair and dust, the tall lamp with its yellow shade. Now and then a car stopped, somebody loading one thing or another into a trunk, a bundle of gauzy nylon scarves, a legless ironing board, before pulling quickly away. By evening little was left but for some trinkets and a handful of misshapen shoes, lying like drunkards on the grass. Though the next morning they, too, were gone, as if the moon passing by had gathered her wayward children in the dark. Dogfish. The dogfish lie in a pile in the sand, no good even for bait. I stooped to count them. 9, 10, 11 slender brown bodies discarded in a heap, like a collection of old shoes. The fisherman wants only the silver body of the bass, the silver body of the blue. But what of these 11 fish with their milk-white bellies and dark dorsal fins, their hinged jaws hung open with hunger even in death? Didn't they dance for him in the shallows? Didn't they come to him out of the sea? But the fisherman wants only the silver body of the bass, the silver body of the blue. The white moon. Some want love and some to live again the worn rosaries of the past. But I want to sleep with the wood duck among the rustling reeds, close by the gleaming stones. The white moon tucked like a blossom behind the river's delicate ear. Thank you.